Hello viewers, today we'll talk about the difference between Git and GitHub. We'll see what is Git, what is GitHub, when to use Git, when to use GitHub. Actually these are not either or. GitHub is based on Git only. So let's learn about Git and GitHub, everything. Many times people are confused on Git and versus GitHub. So that's why we thought to create this video to clear the confusion. So Git is a version control software package similar to the track changes and saving documents as final 1.pdf and final 2.pdf. So this is version control system VCS. So GitHub is a third-party web-based graphical interface that has a copy of the project that you and other people can push and pull from work on the same code simultaneously. So and GitHub is based on Git only. Keep in mind it is not like Google Doc. It does not update automatically. It requires you to push changes and pull the changes to the new computer. So Git versus GitHub. So Git is installed locally. It is not on browser, whereas GitHub hosted on the cloud. Git is first released in 2005 and GitHub is released in 2008. Git is maintained by the Linux Foundation, whereas GitHub purchased in 2018 by Microsoft. Git is focused on version control and code sharing, whereas GitHub is focused on centralizing source code hosting. Git is primarily a command line tool, and GitHub is administered through web. Git provides a desktop interface name of Git GUI, whereas GitHub desktop interface named GitHub Desktop. For Git, no user management feature. For GitHub, built-in user management feature is there. In terms of Git, minimum external tool configuration features, whereas GitHub active marketplace for tool integration. Git has Git competes with Mercurial, Subversion, IBM, Rational Team, Concert, and ClearCase. GitHub competes with Atlassian, Bitbucket, and GitLab. Git is open source licensed, and GitHub includes a free tier and pay for use tiers. So let's see the difference. GitHub is first developed and released in 2005. Git is installed and maintained only on your local system rather than in the cloud. It is one thing that really sets Git apart. It's a branching model. GitHub is designed as a Git repository hosting service. GitHub is exclusively cloud-based. You can share your code with the others, giving them the power to make revision or edits. GitHub is a cloud-based hosting service. Git is a high-quality version control system. So Git is installed locally, not on cloud. GitHub is hosted on cloud. Git is first released in 2005. GitHub is released in 2008. In 2018, it is purchased by Microsoft. GitHub. Git is maintained by Linux Foundation. Git is focused on the version control and code sharing. GitHub is focused on centralizing source code hosting. GitHub is administered through web. Git is primarily a command line tool. Git provide desktop interface named Git GUI. GitHub desktop interface name is GitHub Desktop. GitHub has built-in user management. Git has no user management feature. GitHub actively marketplace for tool integration. Git minimal external tool configuration feature. Git competes with Mercurial, Subversion, IBM, etc. Whereas GitHub competes with Atlassian, Bitbucket, GitLab, etc. Git is open source license, whereas GitHub includes a free trial and pay for a use trial. So GitHub is a service and Git is a software. Git is installed locally on the system, whereas Git is hosted on the web. GitHub provides a graphical interface, whereas Git is a command line tool. Git is a tool to manage different versions of edits made to the files in a Git repository, whereas GitHub is a space to upload a copy of the Git repository. Git provides functionalities such as version control system, source code management. And for GitHub, it provides functionalities of Git like VCS, source code management, as well as adding new of its own features. So Git is a software and GitHub is a service. GitHub is has a graphical user interface, whereas Git is a command line. Git is installed locally on the system. GitHub is hosted on the web. GitHub is maintained by Microsoft and Git is maintained by Linux Foundation. Git is focused on version control and code sharing, whereas GitHub is focused on centralizing source code hosting. GitHub is a hosting service for Git repositories. Git is a version control system to manage source code history. Git was first released in 2005. GitHub was first launched in 2008 and acquired in 2018 by Microsoft. Git has no user management feature. GitHub has built-in user management feature. Git is focused on version controlling and code sharing. GitHub is focused on centralizing source code hosting. GitHub is the hosting service for Git repositories. Git is a version control system to manage source code history. Git was first released in 2005. GitHub was launched in 2008. Git has no user management feature, and GitHub has built-in user management feature. So thank you so much for watching today's video, and if you think the videos are helpful, do like the video and subscribe to the channel.